Adolescence and Curiosity. What ties the two of these topics together? What is curiosity? You may ask yourself. Curiosity is said to be something that involves us humans to thrive and explore, investigate, and also learn. A perfect example of being curious could be what we do on a daily basis. Some of us are curious about what we will make to eat this afternoon, or even what new food we will try. This example involves being curious, which also links to exploring new things and also exploring more options. So, being curious has its good outcomes and also has its bad outcomes, depending on how you're thinking about curiosity and what move you will make. Remember how on the last slide we spoke about positive as well as negative effects on curiosity? Well, here are a list of positive effects and also negative effects on curiosity. We obviously know that curiosity can lead us to discovering new things about ourselves and also even discovering who we are as a person. So that could be a positive effect on us. As teens, we are more drawn onto different types of people, discovering the types of people that are out there. That's a good and healthy way of having curiosity within ourselves as teens. Now, if we never knew what kind of people were out there, we would never know diversity. Diversity is important because if we don't learn how to accept different cultures, different people, we would be one-minded. Being one-minded is not the way to go. We also find ourselves. We find ourselves meaning we know who we are, or else maybe we don't know who we are. We struggle to find out who we are as a person. It's a good thing to be curious about that because then once we discover who we are, we'll be fine and we'll probably know, okay, I'm in a situation. I'm in a situation in which I have to choose something and I'm like, okay, I already know myself, so I know I'm gonna like these things. I know I'm this type of person. I know I'm gonna get along with these type of people. That's a good way for being curious and what curiosity will lead to you knowing yourself. Also, curiosity in a positive way can lead us to successes. So that's a good way of being curious because then it'll lead us to a success. Now, negative could be hanging around with the wrong people, being curious about, like, what would I do if I hung out with the wrong crowd? What would I do if I tried this? What would I do if I grabbed a gun and I did this with it? Those are negative effects on curiosity. Us as teens, we always want to try like the life risking things. We want to be reckless. We want to be rebel. We want to rebel against other people. We want to rebel against authority. Most teens don't tolerate authority. So that's negative. If we don't have control over ourselves with that, it could lead us to death. There has been many times that people in general, not even just teens, but people are curious and it leads them to death. So those are two main things that can, a good and a bad, that can just end everything. The next two slides that are about to show are slides that involve articles that proves that curiosity affects us, the youth. As we can see in this article, it is said that curiosity is what makes teens want to engage and understand, meaning that it's what draws us into certain things and makes us, comprehend about what's going on. So it also states that study shows that curiosity puts the brain in a state that allows to learn. This is true because I personally feel that if I'm curious, then it'll allow me to, know more about something, want to know more about something. If I'm seeing something about like an interesting topic, I'm going to want to know more about that because I'm curious. I'm curious about what's next. And another thing that says on this slide is only the curious venture out. What does that mean? Only the curious will go out and have an adventure. So when you're curious, you're not boring because you're always going to want to know something new. You're always going to want to be out there. You're always going to want to know what's out there, what could be out there, what might be out there. So being curious has its good sides within teens. Now, in this next article that we see, it's titled The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It was an article based on a study done on different types of teens. It had children and it also had teens. But it does say here, previous studies have shown that enhanced trait curiosity has positive influence on well-being, meaning that it has its positives, that curiosity is a good thing, that it should not be seen as a bad thing. Curiosity isn't always bad. Many of these teens on this study were more frowned upon doing better things than having less things being done badly. They were more towards the successful direction, towards the downfalls. So, risky behaviors among adolescents could be a part of curiosity, but not so much. Like teen pregnancy, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, gang affiliation. All those things are risky behaviors. They're risky behaviors because teens don't know what they're getting themselves into. They think they do because they're being curious, but that's not the case.
I've had very positive and negative experiences with curiosity. I When I was younger, I got into a lot of things that I wasn't supposed to do, like every kid does. But it was one that just stuck with me. I decided that I like to write on things, and I wrote on cabinets, I wrote on walls, and I wrote on ceilings of cars, the inside of the car. And that wasn't a good thing for me to do. If you look at the middle picture of my slide, you can kind of figure out what happened. I got disciplined really bad, and it showed me that I should never do that again. So, yeah, that was my experience with curiosity.
When I was 4, I had my first dentist appointment. There was a playground inside the dentist, but no parents could go with their child past the waiting room. Even though I was a shy girl and never went anywhere without my parents, I instantly was curious about the playground and had no problem going in there alone. I had so much fun and never once worried about being by myself. Since that first experience, I have no fears of going to the dentist. My curiosity turned into a positive outcome for the future.
Ever since I was a little girl, I always found myself being curious. I was never in one place. I always found myself being drawn into things that surrounded me. As I grew older, my curiosity matured with me. I started becoming curious with the differences that I would notice on my body. I was also curious about real decisions that I had to make in that point of my life. As a teen, curiosity was always around, whether it's about sex, friendships, or even education. There was a situation that I had when I was in high school that had to deal with drugs. I would see and hear about all these people that were my age or older who smoked weed all the time. I was so curious as to why people smoked weed and really wanted to know how it felt. I was very conscious about whether or not to try weed, but in the end, I did not attempt to smoke weed because I knew the consequences that would come with smoking. I will say this. No, I did not smoke weed because I was curious or just to try it. It was just a what if type of thing. After being curious about smoking weed, I grew out of that idea and moved on.